So we're living through a time where I would say that we've fallen into a codependent relationship with people who are above us. Now you notice that I avoided using the term elites there. It's not because I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I don't care about sounding like a conspiracy theorist. And there are elites. But when we use the term elites, I'm concerned that people think that just means the top 1% or the top 0.01%. The people at the absolute peak of the pyramid of social structure. So most of the people who have a tremendous amount of wealth, a tremendous amount of power collected into a relatively small number of hands and pockets. They are a problem. They are absolutely a part of the problem. But I would say if you do a mental map and you structure it like that, and you say we have a model like this, the problem of codependency is not between my codependency, and I'm talking at the macrocosmic state level, not interrelationship, romantic codependency, but my codependency between me and, let's say my codependency, your codependency, is anything that is supra, I'm not saying super, I'm saying supra, S-U-P-R-A, above us. Why? I think that what has happened is, oh no, I will sound here like a communist. There's too much that's been stacked above us. There's been too much of a reliance on top-down power hierarchies. This is not my field of expertise, like economics and politics and geopolitics. I suspect that the explosion in growth of the population over the last 100 years alone, well, it's just common sense, isn't it? If we're the elites, if you and I are the elites, and we're looking after 1 billion people, and then we feed them, and we feed them. There are situations where they're able to feed themselves, they are able to clothe themselves and educate themselves. Suddenly they're not dying in the rates that they would before, and it explodes from 1 billion to 7 billion, but there's still only 5 of us. This is a preposterous, the numbers I'm giving you are meaningless, but imagine it as foolishly as that. There were 5 elites for 1 billion people, and then it explodes over 100 years and becomes 7 billion people for the same 5 elites. You ain't panicking? You ain't thinking, dealing with 1 billion was tough. 7 billion of these little bastards? Like, if they flip, if these flip, we will be dust. So if we switch the metaphor for a second, I'm on a boat or a canoe and I'm standing up. And when the water is still, I can keep still. But as the water gets rockier, I have to fight to maintain my position. Because gravity is pulling me down, it's a top-down position. But the earth beneath my feet, or not the earth, the water beneath my feet is moving. So I have to fight harder to keep my position. I think it's something like that. And over time, what has happened is it's not just the 1% or the 1% or the 0.01% or whatever it is at the very top that's panicking. It's a general malaise, it's a general panic of anybody in any position of power where they feel these tectonic shifts, and it's a perfectly human response where if you're in a certain position within a dominance hierarchy and you feel the tree shake, you're going to tighten up and you're going to become more aggressive, more muscular, harder in keeping that which is below you down and stable. Because anything that's hierarchical, that's upright, that is yang rather than flat and yin, is at risk. It's way more vulnerable. If you're yin and your power structure is completely flat, how does a flat power structure collapse? It can't. There's no collapse possible there. I'm not saying that's how we should structure society. I don't believe that. But what I am saying is when we have hierarchies, which are hopefully noble meritocracies and not oligarchies, that as they shift, as they shake, the people in power right the way through the power structure, fight to hold on. That would mean that a bureaucrat in a position of power within, let's say, the national health system in the UK, or pick any European country, as they feel these tectonic shifts from the ground up, anything below them, they're not elite, but they're above the people. If you're in marketing, if you're in advertising, say you're a marketeer, and you look at this tectonic shifts that are taking place in just the last 20 years, realize the way capitalism and the economy has jolted forward in the most rapid and hard to predict ways, from the dot-com bubble to 2021 and the issues we face today. It's staggering. I know, because I've been in sales and marketing since 2004. And you wanted to hear the incredibly naive things that the top level gurus in internet business space were saying and predicting about the future. I remember somebody saying, this is early on, like 2005, 2006, one day Google's going to know where you are. They're going to have a way of hearing your conversations, and they're going to market products based on your age, your ethnicity, your lifestyle choices, and your conversations. And everybody was like, that is the most paranoid, dystopian nonsense I've ever heard. How long have we had that tech for? Or permutations of that tech? I mean, 6, 7, 8 years at least that we know of. So the groundswell just in one area. Because as an advertiser, as a marketer, you are in a top-down position. You speak to the people. You communicate to the people. Thank you, Edward Bernays, for creating this role and this job. Freud's nephew. I'm sure you've all watched Adam Curtis's documentary, The Century of the Self. So in that field alone, imagine our mainstream media corporations right now are panicking because they're losing space. These are institutions that have been around 50, 60, 70, 80 years in some cases. They're losing space. To what? Social media. Why should I listen to you, top-down authority, when I can get better quality of news from a guy on YouTube or a girl on YouTube whose values and political beliefs and whatever else match mine more? My point is, these tectonic shifts are taking place everywhere, and they create panic. They create a scramble to hold the position. So we feel a general stiffening, a muscular strengthening of that which is. What do we at the bottom experience that as? A closing of the windows on freedom of speech, a sense that you're free but only free to do as you're told, a sense that your privileges and basic rights are being encroached upon and taken away. Sound familiar to what we're living through right now? Is this democracy? Is this a liberal democracy? Show me the country in the world, any country in the world right now, and point to that and say that is an unchanged liberal democracy in 2021. You can't. There isn't one. There are countries who've handled the crisis better than others. There are countries in a better state than others. But some of them have completely closed their borders in order to get where they are. It's a liberal democracy, is it? They can't go anywhere. They're on a prison island. Like if you talk about New Zealand, okay, great, they've handled the crisis really well. At what cost? To the freedom of movement and to basic common civil liberties that would reflect what we would expect in a modern, civilized, liberal democracy. It's going. It's going, and it's going because the earth is shifting beneath our feet. And the earth is shifting beneath our feet, quite frankly, I suspect predominantly because of a combination of two factors. Population growth. There are so many voices in the marketplace now. There are so many people there. There's so much consciousness around that wasn't there before. And the acceleration of technology, social media, and the devices, these super smart, they're not we don't carry supercomputers in our pockets, but we carry devices in our pockets that access supercomputers via satellites. We carry in our pockets small devices that are effectively, they're computers more than they are anything else, that access supercomputers, that access artificial intelligence, that have low levels of artificial intelligence built into them. It's incredible, the rate of progress. First smartphone, 2007. What does your smartphone do? It's 2021. I can take pictures on the thing that sits in my sweaty pocket, and I post them online, and people are like, wow, what is that camera? And what lens are you using? I'm like, it's an iPhone. It's in my pocket all day. I didn't even wipe the lens before I pulled it out. And, yeah. And then I can post it, bang, instant. That level of ability for the demos, democracy is rule by the people. Demos is people. That ability for them to be independent journalists, independent reporters, independent whistleblowers would frighten me if I was in control. That wasn't there in the 70s. Imagine the things that the powers that be could get away with just in the 70s when I was born. They couldn't dream of it now. It would not be possible to do those things. Certain major life world-changing crises that happened at the turn of the century. 9/11. What would in the age of the smartphone, what would our experience of 9/11 be now? What would our memories of it be? Would it have played out in exactly that way? Would we have ended up with the same narrative afterwards? I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not. There's no chance. There is no chance, in my humble opinion, that would take place. So we do need to be aware that we're living in times that are really rapidly changing, and you should be concerned with elite levels of control and what your government is doing. But I think it's equally important to have an understanding of why it's happening. Yes, 100% there are nefarious bad actors, but there is also an inevitability to this. I mean, what do you expect them to do? They're not there because they've been thoroughly scanned by a benevolent supercomputer AI for wonderful values. They crawled over people to get there. They're Machiavellian, they're psychopathic. That's what we reward in this culture. And so that's who is ruling us. What do we expect? So I'll leave it there on that subject. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your attention. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you very much.